Hi, everyone. Welcome to your latest, I don't know where that came from, your latest Carson's Take 5 with Ryan and Sonu. Sonu, we've had the worries. We've had the scary headlines. But then we look up and literally this week, stocks have hit all-time highs. That's what we're going to talk about this week in your latest Take 5. Why stocks are back at all-time highs. We can go a lot of ways with this. But Sonu, what's one or two reasons we've just ignored the concern over tariffs, the Fed, economy, inflation, AI, whatever other geopolitical concerns? Why in the world are stocks at new highs with all the scary stuff out there?
One thing is, a couple of things is that some of those scary things got pushed away, right? One is the tariffs. The tariff can was kicked down the road, maybe as far as August.
It's a big kick. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's a punt. Is that the way? Is that what? Yeah. Am I getting that right?
I think so. Punt. Yeah, I like it.
Punt. And then the Fed rate cuts, right? We got some inflation data that was positive. That kept rate cuts on the table. I mean, you and I have talked about a 2025 outlook. Mm-hmm. One of the potential tailwinds for the market was the Fed cutting interest rates, carrying on from what they did in 2024. So rate cuts are still on the table. It's not off the table, right? So I think that is two things that happened over the last 10 days that's positive for markets. But let's see, the big reason is companies are making good profits, right? Yeah. Profits and profit margins. Ultimately, why do stock prices go up? They go up on the back of profits and expectations of future profits, right? And right now, profits are growing. Profits are growing on the back of two things. The economy is growing, so sales revenues are fairly strong, and profit margins, right? Companies have something called operating leverage. They're able to expand profit margins as sales grow. And I think that's the story across the economy.
Well said there. We're putting the finishing touches on fourth quarter earnings season, literally as we speak here. It was another very solid season, like you said, Sonu. I think our S&P 500 earnings are up close to 17% year over year. That's really strong. But I want to talk about profit margins for a second. If you look at, there's 11 sectors in the S&P 500. 8 of those sectors have seen profit margins increase during this earnings season. That's a really good sign. Stronger profit margins, record profits, solid revenue. Those are some of the big reasons why stocks, again, are back at all-time highs with all the headlines out there. One more thing, we've talked a lot about this, the idea of broadening out, right? If you look for the year, S&P, the time we're recording this, is up like 4%, give or take, for the year. Suddenly, like 8 sectors are beating the S&P 500 this year to date so far, right? So you've got broadening out. It's not just about 7 stocks. It's not just about large technology stocks, like you could argue it was in 23 and part to 24. We've said for a while this broadening out theme, and for all you investors out there listening, and I know you are right now, you've got a diversified portfolio. That's good news, because you don't want just a few stocks being the leader all the time. We see broadening out. That's a great, great sign. That's another reason for potentially this bull market to last. One more, Sonu, and I'll go back to you. We don't know if we're going to be higher in February on the S&P yet, but we know we were higher in January. Now, we are up the time we're recording this in February. When the stock market's up the first 2 months of the year, the rest of the year, that's the final 10 months, is higher. Ready for this? Like more than 90% of the time. All right. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but a good start to a year like we're experiencing right now. And again, February's not over. We get it. But if we hang in there, that's probably a good thing. So, how are we doing time-wise? Yeah, we've got another couple minutes or so. What else you want to talk about here?
I think just carrying forward from, as goes maybe January and maybe even February, so goes the rest of the year. It's momentum, right? Yeah. We've had solid momentum coming into 2025. I mean, December was a little dicey there for a moment. But look, the stock market gained 25% in 2024, right? The S&P 500 did. Mm-hmm. And that's momentum for you. And then we see that momentum carry forward into January and now the first 2-3 weeks of February as well. So, momentum begets momentum. That's a good thing. You want that rather than not. I think what the other potential tailwind, and there's 2 ways to look at this, right? We haven't quite seen animal spirits yet, I think, from a overall confidence level, whether it's businesses, consumers, all of that, right? So, and that's something you and I talked about in our 2025 outlook, that could be the, X factor that takes the rally even further. And the good news is that's maybe yet to come. That could be the icing or the cherry on top of the cake, right? Or the sundae. And that's, the fact that we've gained as much as we have without that is a good sign, but there's potential for more here.
Well said. You think about where markets tend to peak. It's when everybody's bullish, everybody's excited, everyone's feeling really good, and that can last a while. I know a lot of you remember the late '90s. People felt good for a while. Earlier this decade, people feeling pretty good. Things were doing okay. But the reality again is we're not seeing that, right? Consumer confidence is low. CEO confidence doing okay. CFO confidence okay. Small business confidence has been hurt mainly by higher interest rates. All this come back, but let's just be clear. How excited are all of you that the stock market hitting all-time highs? Are you feeling comfortable? Are you a little apprehensive? I mean, honestly, probably a little apprehensive because the news is the news. It is scary, but the underlying pinnings of why we're hitting new highs and why this bull market's up more than 70% since October 22 when it started is still there, right? And again, I've said this before. This is not going to be the first year in history where it goes up every single day, where we don't have scary headlines, where we don't have some volatility, where we don't have some really down days. This year it's going to happen, and it's happened already. We've had a couple rough Mondays here so far this year, but the reason we're at new highs have been so strong, it's still in play, and we think that's something for all investors out there to remember. So, Sonu, I think we're at the end of the line. With all of that, this again is the latest Carson's Take 5 with Ryan and Sonu. Why stocks are back at new all-time highs. We'll see you next week. Take care. Thank you.